Welcome back to another episode on the Scale Smart podcast. I'm your host, Jacob, and also the founder of NetScale Growth. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by the CFO of AEye, Conor Tierney. Thank you, Conor, for joining me.
Hey, Jacob. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
So, Conor, kick me off. Tell me a little bit more about your journey becoming the CFO at AEye, and what do you guys do at AEye?
Yeah, so I'm the CFO, and my background is auditing and accounting. I grew up in Ireland, trained as a chartered accountant. I came over here to the US about 20 years ago. I've always been based in California. And so originally started out working in public accounting. I worked for Pricewaterhouse, worked in Deloitte, worked in the semiconductor industry. So as part of that, got exposed to a lot of strategic transactions. I worked on the Avago carve-out way back in the day. No idea that would become Broadcom. Then was involved in the Mellanox IPO back in the day as well. So that really kind of exposed me to strategic transactions in Silicon Valley and just gave me a real appetite to pursue that, and made my way into transaction services at Deloitte. And we were doing for private equity clients, which, a lot of work, but great experience, great exposure. And then pivoted into industry and worked at a mobile gaming company called Glue Mobile for 10 years. We made the Kim Kardashian game. That's our claim to fame. And then from there, I moved to Google and I worked in their drone division for about 3 years. And when I joined, it was an interesting time to join because we were just spinning it out as a project from Google X, and operations were really starting to ramp up. And so that then led to the opportunity at AEye. I just joined after the company had gone public via SPAC. So as you can imagine, there was lots going on. It was basically an industry in transition. So it just came in there and was basically drinking from the fire hose for about the first year. Probably still am to a certain extent. So that's me. That's my background. I guess your other question was AEye, what we do.
Yeah, what do you guys do at AEye?
Yeah, so we make Lidar sensors. And for those that aren't familiar with Lidar and what Lidar is, basically it's a sensor that allows a machine or a vehicle to see in 3 dimensions. And so basically what we're trying to do is replicate the human visual cortex system. So basically allowing machines to see like humans. Obviously that's extremely important in this environment and also in the next 10 years, right? Because we want machines to be fully autonomous, right? We want vehicles to be fully autonomous. We want factories to be automated, all of these things. And you're going to need to have vision systems to be able to do all of those things. And so that's what makes this a really exciting industry to be in. And then you think about, certain industries like the automotive industry, traditional industries that are just ripe for disruption. And we think it's a huge market at automotive. There's 90 million passenger vehicles that are sold every year. So just getting our sensors into a portion of those vehicles is a huge opportunity. And then you look at the opportunities outside of automotive. You think about smart infrastructure, you think about defense, you think about rail, mining, all of these things. So we think there's a great market opportunity, but it's not just a great market opportunity. There's a huge societal impact, just from a sustainability standpoint and also just improving the lives of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Sensors are going to make everybody safe. They're going to reduce road accidents. They're going to make our lives better, more efficient, give us time back in our day, all of those things.
Yeah, amazing. Well, it's great to hear about what you guys are doing and also your journey as well. So AEye it's been advancing in adaptive LiDAR solutions across various different sectors, right? But what are some of the biggest challenges you face when it comes to scaling the business from a business standpoint, but also maybe a financial standpoint, being the CFO, and how have you addressed them?
Yeah, I think just to give you some context, LiDAR really had a moment, I would say 3 to 4 years ago. And you had a lot of companies that went public, including AEye. There was a lot of capital that was available. And like anything, attention moves on and it moves elsewhere. And I'd say that's just the reality that we're in right now. It doesn't mean the market opportunity has diminished. If anything, it's gotten better. But it's like that, right? Sometimes you have a lot of interest and that interest moves on to other things. And you need to adapt and you need to be able to survive in this new environment. And I think the other big challenge that we've encountered really is the capital markets. With interest rates going up, it's made it very difficult to raise capital and bring in capital, especially if you're a company that's innovating or a growth stage company, which we are, a lot of investors are averse to taking risks in this environment. And so that's made it challenging. And obviously we need capital, right? We're trying to bring a product to the market. So we've had to think outside the box, and we've had to really think about how to raise capital in a way that's really going to propel and drive the company forward. Also bearing in mind that we want to do that in a way that doesn't overly dilute our shareholders at the same time. So I think capital, bringing in capital, and then the other side to that coin is just managing the business, adopting a mindset of being lean, making your budget go further, and we really kind of live and breathe that here at AEye. We've really spent a lot of time thinking about our cost structure. How do we get our cost structure under control? And I think that's no different than most companies out there in this environment. Everybody's kind of looking at their cost structure, and we've really kind of pivoted from this growth at all costs mindset to really focusing on how do we build businesses that are sustainable, that have the right fundamentals, and really thinking about how do you get to that point in time where you can break even, and giving yourself the right cost structure or business model to be able to do that. And so that's what we're thinking. And we took a hard look at our products, and every product that we sell, what's the pathway to getting profitable with that product line? And are we subsidizing the units? Can we eventually get to gross margin positive on those products? All of those things, breaking it down, looking at the fundamentals. So I think that's just extremely important. That combination of just bringing in capital, having the right fundamentals in place. And I think we've done a great job. We've raised 24 million here in the last 14 months, which in this environment is pretty good. And for a company our size as well. And so that's extended our runway, but not just extended the runway, right? Given us capital to be able to invest in the product, bring that product to market. And so that's been a challenge. I think the other thing is just, automotive is that big opportunity for us, but it's moving a little bit slower than everybody would have anticipated, especially when we went public a few years back. And that's because just, the automotive companies have their own problems going on right now. They've overbuilt electric vehicles, and they've had labor disputes, and then you add tariffs on top of that. So you really need to be able to align yourself with the realities of the market. And that goes back to the point I just made, just giving yourself runway, making sure you have the time to be able to hang in there and be resilient. And then the other thing we've been doing is focusing on opportunities outside of automotive, because there's near-term opportunities in industries like smart infrastructure and rail and mining and security and all of these things which exist today. So just pivoting into those markets and being able to take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah, and the Lidar industry has become, as you mentioned there, it's become quite competitive. So how do you guys at AEye differentiate yourself, and what strategies are in place to always maintain that competitive edge?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is just the business model. Our business model has always been a partnership model, and that's what really allows us to keep our burn rate extremely low. Our burn rate's about 20 to 25 million. That might seem like a big number to you, but it's actually pretty small when you compare it to some of our peers. One of our peers is burning 200 to 300 million a year. So it's a relatively small number. And the reason we're able to do that is because we have what's known as a capital light business model, and we work with the tier one partner in the automotive side. And the great thing about that is, we're responsible for designing the product ultimately, but the tier one is the one that's going to bring that to market and industrialize it and manufacture it. And those are all the things that cost a lot of dollars. And it's a way for us to lower our CapEx investment and lean into them. And then obviously a big tier one has the supply chain and they have the ecosystem, and we're just plugging into something that already exists. So that's one thing on the contract manufacturer side or tier one side. The other thing is just partnering with players that already have footholds in the market. As an example, we're partnering with NVIDIA right now, and we're plugging into their Hyperion platform. And I think so far we're the only one that meets their specs. They have a very high bar when it comes to that platform and being able to meet all the requirements. And that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for us, right? Because they have relationships with all the big automotive OEMs. And so that's something that we're very focused on right now. And then Outside of automotive, again, partnerships. When we work with an end customer, sometimes they want a fully bundled solution, not just the sensor. So they may want the perception or AEye layer on top of that, the compute box, all of those things. And so working with partners that we can partner and bring a full stack bundled solution to the market. And then obviously working with partners that already have relationships with the end customer. And so effectively we're already plugging into a market which already exists. And so that's kind of the go-to-market strategy, how we view the opportunity and how we're approaching it. And then I think there's something, we have definitely a secret weapon in the technology side. And there's a few things really that makes the sensor really compelling. The thing that gets me the most excited, honestly, is just the adaptability of the sensor. It's extremely versatile. I call it the Swiss Army knife of sensors, right? Because everything is reconfigurable through the software. And so we can change anything. And what that means is we can play in any market, any industry. And so we can go from automotive to mining to rail without changing the hardware, just by customizing the hardware through the software for that specific use case. And the reason that we're able to do that a lot of the time, let me show you something here, is because we use a micro MEMS architecture, right? Yeah. And the only thing, this is a chip that I was holding up, the only thing that moves in the sensor is a mirror, which is basically less than 1 millimeter in diameter. So it's microscopic. That's the only thing that moves. And that's extremely important because that can reduce the size of the sensor, right? You can make it extremely compact, but also you can make it really robust and durable. And we can control that mirror. So if you imagine what a mirror does, it's basically, the laser is firing these photons of light, and that mirror is directing that light. And we can control that mirror. So we can effectively focus those photons to go where we want them to go. And that's very powerful because you can basically adapt the sensor for any multitude of cases, right? Any multitude of use cases. And so if I want to see far away, if I want to see up close, if I want a wider field of view, all of these different things. So it gives you a lot of different functionalities or features. Mm-hmm. The other major thing I would say is we use what's known as a bistatic architecture as opposed to a monostatic architecture. So we have a separate scanner and receiver. And so what that really means is the sensor is optimized for sending out light or transmitting light and receiving that back, whereas nearly everybody else has a combined system, which is a monostatic system. And so basically they're transmitting and they're receiving on the same lens. So you're not optimizing for either or. And that really what it does is it allows us to see far away, but not just far away, be able to see with a high degree of precision and resolution. And so that's why we like to categorize ourselves as a long range sensor. We can see further than anybody else. We can see up to a kilometer. And the reason we can do that is through the technology because it's unique.
And over the next 12 months or so, Conor, what are some of the goals you guys have got for AEye?
Yeah, there's a few of them. I would think the number one goal is just making sure that we have the financial foothold to be able to bring our product to the market. We spent the last year and a bit investing in our new product, Apollo. We finally have it ready. And so we want to bring that product out to the market. Right now we're chatting with customers, so just making sure that we have the financial capabilities to be able to bring that product to the market. The other things that we're focusing on, which I just kind of alluded to, is continuing to iterate on Apollo. We feel like we definitely have it ready for prime time at this point in time, but we still need to fix a few things here and there. So continuing to kind of hit on those product milestones is important. And then obviously on the customer execution side, we're very focused on business development at the moment. A couple of days ago, I was out in Nashville at a defense event, and we were chatting with customers, and that was refreshing. So continuing to do all of those things, get on the road, BD activities, engaging with customers, making sure that everybody is aware of the new product and getting it out there and getting that message out.
Amazing. If people wanted to find out more, Conor, about yourself or AEye, where's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is you can hit me up on LinkedIn. So just look for me, Conor Tierney. I might not respond to your message straight away, but I'll get to it at some point. And then you can go on our website, which is www.ai.
Amazing. Well, Connor, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing what you guys are doing at AI and also sharing your experience as well.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jacob. Bye.